It is true that my faith has been somewhat shaken by what has happened to Marsha.
I don't see any evidence in this case that would justify a charge, let alone a conviction.
The case brought against her has been actually outrageous.
As a Bush family member trying to protect my dad's legacy, I want to see Kuwait succeed in this way.
This is Marsha Lazareva, mother of a 4-year-old, a successful businesswoman, a Wharton School graduate, and someone who had to spend 470 days in a jail in Kuwait on charges of embezzlement. This case has managed to attract some big names, including Neil Bush, Cherie Blair, Louis Freeh, Lord Alex Carlisle, Ed Royce, James Nicholson, Pam Bondi, and Tatiana Yumasheva. But how did this Marsha Lazareva case bring Moscow and Washington together to achieve a common goal of combating injustice?
It's hard to find in this environment today where the allegations of Russian involvement in U.S. elections and the Mueller report just came out, all these things, the implications and the challenges that that's created for our bilateral relationship. It's hard to find a place in the world, except maybe the space program, where the United States and Russia have unified, at least come up with a common goal.
An employee of KGL Investment Company in Kuwait, Lazareva was accused of embezzlement and sentenced to 10 years hard labor imprisonment in May 2018.
The two major issues against her were, number one, broadly, it was said that the so-called port fund, which had $496 million in it, was dirty money. Number two, that she had signed 3 documents which transferred money illegitimately to her own interests, and that therefore she was guilty of corruption. It was eventually conceded a few weeks ago by the Kuwaiti authorities that the port fund money was clean, and indeed parts of it have been distributed to beneficiaries, legitimate legal beneficiaries, including the company that Ms. Lazareva represents. That the 3 documents that she was said to have signed and which were relied upon were forgeries.
So basically, later it was found that the evidence against her was fake, and the funds of nearly $500 million she was accused of embezzling were actually frozen in a Dubai bank. As a result of this, her conviction was successfully appealed in May this year. Cherie Blair, the world-renowned human rights lawyer and wife of former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, highlighted Lazareva's case during a discussion that was staged to coincide with the latest UN Human Rights Council meeting.
Is this just a rogue case that's gone wrong, or does it say something more generally about the dangers of foreigners doing business in Kuwait? I personally very much hope that this is in fact an aberration, and that foreigners can remain confident of their protections when in Kuwait. But it is true that my faith has been somewhat shaken by what has happened to Marsha. Even little things like in the prison, and sadly, indeed, in the court, her being referred to as the Russian woman is disturbing.
She's been treated rudely in prison, often referred to as the Russian by her staff, and it was not intended as a compliment. She's lived in Kuwait for 20 years. She hadn't been to Russia much in those 20 years, so it was not a compliment.
Attending the court hearing last week to give evidence on Lazareva's behalf was Louis Freeh, an American attorney and former director of the FBI. Freeh presented a 4-page affidavit in which he outlined new evidence that had emerged in the last 6 months, which he said has yet to be considered by the court or Kuwait's Attorney General.
I think what justice and fairness would require here would be for this court to confirm that the conviction should be reversed, should stay reversed, because they did reverse it, because there's no evidence, and that the defendants should be released, and their bail, which is very high, $35 million US in cash, should be returned to them, and they should be allowed to go on with their lives.
It would be in the best interest of Kuwait for both their international relations, their ability to do business abroad, and to welcome international businesses, to conclude this case in a respectful manner by utilizing their justice system to say charges are dropped. Marsha is free to go, no travel ban, no conviction. She is free to go with her 4-year-old U.S. citizen son and her mother and leave the country.
Lazareva was released on bail in mid-June, her 1 million Kuwaiti dinar bail having been paid off by an unnamed Kuwaiti supporter, in addition to the 11 million Kuwaiti dinar previously paid by her supporter. Another employee of KGL, Saeed Dashti, whose embezzlement convictions were also lifted, remains in jail as he was unable to raise his bail money. The last hearing was on June 23rd, which Arabian Business attended, and the next one is scheduled for September 15. You can read the entire cover story here or click on the playlist to watch all the interviews we did on the Marsha Lazareva case.